Quick Goal, the official goal of soccer, presents Quick Chat, a quick-hitting interview series with some of the top people from around the soccer world. We discover how coaches got to their position and advice they give to a younger self. Welcome to Quick Chat.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we are fortunate to have Coach Riley, men's coach at Notre Dame, joining us today. Coach Riley, how are we doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Let's have some fun with this. So kind of bring us up to speed on how you go from player to now coaching in the ACC at the famed Golden Domers at Notre Dame.
Yeah, so, I got into coaching pretty early. Tried to play a little bit, played at Notre Dame for 4 years, and then got drafted into the old A-League. But then by the time the league kind of got going, I think the team had folded by the time the season got going. So, and back then, there was probably, and you'll remember, 10 MLS teams, maybe less. So it was pretty hard to get one of those spots, and I just didn't quite get on a team for that next level. And was fortunate to get coaching pretty quickly at Oberlin College in Ohio as an assistant coach. And so it was an interesting transition from kind of high level Division I to, a Division III team that was building, and they're in a good spot now. But it was great. It was an invaluable time to learn with Coach Blake New, who's still the head coach there. So spent a season there. And then one of our old Big East foes, St. John's, I was fortunate to go work with Coach Dave Mazur, and now the head coach at Elon, Mark Reeves, was an assistant coach there. So through kind of connections and everything, Coach Mazur brought me on. I had a great year at St. John's. And then right about the, kind of the year mark, the assistant coaches at Notre Dame got head coaching jobs and moved on. So then Coach Bobby Clark, I was fortunate enough that he brought me back to Notre Dame. Spent about 6 years coaching with Bobby at Notre Dame, and then actually made the move to coach with the current Penn State head coach. Jeff Cook was the head coach at Dartmouth. So I went there, worked with him for a year as an assistant. He then became one of the coaches and directors of the Philadelphia Union Academy right when they got that started.
Yep.
And I was lucky to get the Dartmouth job as the head coach, and then Bobby retired at Notre Dame, and I became the head coach at Notre Dame about a little over 3 years ago.
Yeah. Interesting story, and how we often refer to the soccer world being such a small universe.
Yeah.
Your timing coming into Dartmouth is right about the time, I believe, that I went to be Johan Settergren's assistant at the University of Kentucky, who had just left Dartmouth. So in your time on the sidelines, your best coaching experience.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those ones that's always tricky. I think probably the best, there's a couple, but the one that comes to mind first as a head coach was the first Ivy League championship I won as a head coach, because I think it was a team that we had a disappointing year the year prior, and they really committed to doing everything right, leading up to the next season, and just the joy that they felt when they won the league. Because the Ivy League's unique, where it is like everybody wants to win a national championship, but the Ivy League, there's going to be bragging rights for a long, long time, and they have a trophy that gets passed around, and when you win it, you get your team's name on the side of it. So that was a really cool feeling for the guys, just for them to get rewarded for hard work, and then for myself as a coach to get a trophy, because I think that's all what you're always trying to build teams to win something. So I think that's one of the ones that's up there with me. And then, obviously like you'll have, there's a lot of games, a lot of moments that stick out. But right now, that first Ivy League championship was special.
So you had mentioned that the guys kind of came together and said, all right, we're going to do things differently, and we're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Now, was that your kind of showing them the road, or did they do this on their own? Is it stuff you had talked about that they didn't commit to in that disappointing year when they didn't get there? How did that kind of transpire?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of both. I don't think they were far away from their potential the year before, and you deal with some injuries, and whether you're deep enough to handle them or not is always a little bit of a question. And so I don't think it was anything where they, weren't necessarily doing the right things, but it's kind of that idea of like recommitting to things. And so then I think as a coach, you're always providing kind of the vision of what you want to do. And then what's the direction, right? Well, what do they need to do? And then that motivation. And I think in the Ivy League, because you don't get to train as much in the spring, a lot rests on your captains and your leaders. And so you really had to work with them to kind of drive that culture. And so it was, we obviously got some good players in the next year, or else we wouldn't be able to do it. But I think it was kind of recommitting to saying like, oh, okay, these are, really important. They are the important things to winning championships, being fit, being collective, all of those types of things. So I think it was almost more of a recommitting than a kind of rebooting.
Yeah, I feel like every team that I'm involved in, that is a big litmus test, gut check. Does this group have it? Number one, and can they commit to it for a long enough time with enough individuals to kind of get over the hump?
Exactly.
Whatever your goal might be, whether it's a championship or just finishing better than you did last year. So
exactly.
Always a tough challenge. On the backside of that, has there been a worst, or maybe we don't frame it as the worst, one of those not so fun memories?
Yeah. I mean, the first things that come to mind a little bit are honestly where you feel most helpless as a coach is when people get injuries, and not that they're specific, but those are the ones you just want to do something because as a coach, you're sort of a helper. But, I think one of the pivotal times was my first season as a head coach. I think we went 8 games. The first 8 games, we didn't lose a game. And then I'm not sure we won one for the next 8 games. And so as a first-time head coach at a good program, the 2 programs I've taken over probably after the winningest coaches in their history, which
sure
presents its own problems.
Right.
But I think it was really hard that stretch, and we finished last in the Ivy League in 2013. Then, like I said, we won it in 2014. But I think it really cemented for me, like, all right, you've got to want to do this for more than just winning, right? And so it made you kind of reflect on all of those reasons why you do it. So I think it was really hard, and certainly bad, let's be honest, at the time. But I think, once you get the space and a little bit of distance from it, I think it's one of the things that's made me as a coach today.
Yeah, awesome. In your years, is there one player? I know this is always a tough one. You don't really you don't want to disregard anyone else, but is there that one player that has shined brighter than any other?
I did really, you try not to cop out and like sort of say there's not been, but there have been a handful that are just, that have been very good, both at Dartmouth and at Notre Dame as an assistant coach, and then as a head coach. It'd be hard to, there is just a handful. I mean, the guys that are still playing away right now are obviously very good, but I'm trying to think of it as more someone that maybe had a season that really, impacted the team. And I think, my last team at Dartmouth had a few guys led by Wyatt Omsberg, who's playing for the Fire right now. And I forget exactly how many goals, but I don't know if we even gave up double-digit goals for the whole season. I think him, the guy Matt Danilak and Tyler Dowse just really created a great defensive unit. But no, I've been lucky. There's been a lot that that have played for a while. Guys that are still playing. Stephen Cleveland, who was our goalie at Dartmouth, is playing at Seattle now, and so
now this is my favorite part.
Yep.
I always love to hear about what kind of staple training games are in your arsenal. What games you like, why you like them, how they're set up, what the numbers are. Kind of tell us what that 1, maybe 2 games is. Explain it to us as best you can, and try and paint the picture to, hey, this is how we do things. This is kind of this is in our DNA of how we play.
Yeah, I do. I think there's a couple of them. I think one of the first things we spend a lot of time are like 3v1 kind of grids, where it's just, we'll do it 1 touch, 3 versus 1, getting the angles down. That's one of our staple kind of getting ready for it. So 1 ball, obviously, 1 defender, 1 touch, the 3, keeping it kind of working on the angles, the shape of your body. And it really it's kind of good fitness. It's one of those, like, I like to sneak fitness in as many things as I can. And then we usually build that to kind of a 5v2 transfer box that we spend a lot of time. So it's, it's 10 players total, one group of 5 on one side, one group of 5 on the other side. You send 2 defenders across, the 5 keep it. When the 2 win it, they try to transition across. That's something that, just from a defending standpoint, but also connecting in transition, and then as well just the keep away element of it.
So let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt, but
No, please do.
In that 5v2, when so the idea would be for the 2 defenders to win it and then actually play the ball to their teammates on the other side. Now, do you modify the game where if they get a touch and disrupt it and the ball goes out of play, a new ball is played into their side and now the new team has to transition over? Or is it, hey, you must win it, you must maintain control and keep possession and then transfer it yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. We do it a couple different. When I first do it, if you're the team with the 5 and you knock it out of bounds, it's a turnover, it goes across. If you knock it out of bounds twice as the pressing the 2, then it'll also transition. But then as we get better at it, then I'll add, the only way it goes is if the attacking team knocks it out, sure, it's just like the game, it goes over. But for you to transition, you have to win it and connect.
Sure.
And then at times we'll put a little neutral zone where you have to get the timing of when the 2 win it, one of their teammates has to check into this middle zone. They have to find that person in the middle zone who can to turn it.
Yeah, you're almost training third man running now. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I like that little twist.
Yeah.
We used to play that game where we'd make really big grids, and it was training technique. It was also pulling a lot of fitness, but the ball had to be served over the middle channel, which could have been 25 yards.
Yeah.
25-yard box. So you had to deliver the ball into the opposite box in the air. If not, it stayed in possession in that one side. So many things you can pull from that. Love it.
Yeah, we like that one too. Across the river.
Yeah.
The last one that I'd say, because we use your guys', I think they're 4x6 goals, but one of our team's favorite is a 6-goal game.
Okay.
Where we have, one team's going to 3 goals that are kind of spread out, kind of in the channels of the field. Another team's going to the other 3 goals.
I love it.
And that's one of our staples. You play roughly from the 18 to the halfway line and then across the field.
What kind of numbers do you use there?
I like to use 10v10.
Okay.
We'll keep it. Sometimes we'll put a neutral on the ends, on the outside, just to be like a bumper. But typically, if we can, 10v10, then you just kind of go down from there.
Love it. You're getting into coaching. You're maybe hanging up your playing boots and getting into coaching. What advice would you give your younger self as you're entering into the coaching world?
Yeah, I think, obviously kind of, again, it's one of those things. It's easy to say, hard to do sometimes, but to enjoy it, it is. Because I think those hard moments, like, that's part of, I see myself as an educator, right? I'm not a sort of disgruntled pro coach coaching in college. Like, so even those challenging moments can be some of the best times for your guys to learn who they are, how to be a man. And then I think the part that, looking back, is just to have an open mind on all the different ways the game can be played. I think it's something when we're younger, we have a total conviction about certain things that might not be, maybe good, maybe not, but, and when you play for a good coach, sometimes you think that's the only way to do it. But I think it's something, over time you end up with your principles, but you also know that's the fun part of the game, is there's a lot of different ways to play it and do it well. And at the end of the day, the best coaches they have their principles, but they know how to make those minor adaptations to their team each year to get the best out of them.
Right. Let me ask you one additional question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I am heavily influenced by all my years playing for Bruce Arena.
Mm-hmm.
You played for a legendary coach and coached with the legendary coach Bobby Clark.
Yeah.
How has he influenced you in all these years as a coach? Do you take a lot from his book? Do you take certain ideas and tweak them to be your own? Kind of talk about that. What kind of influence did he have on you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the foundation of everything. I think, and you do, it's, And then I think it is, you sort of have those principles, and then even like he did, we always talk when he came over in the 80s, and he was one of the first guys to like really get teams playing zonally and doing those things, is like, you also know there's always an evolution to go. And so it is a lot of like, I hope in some ways, if you're looking back, it's like picking up where he maybe left off on when he decided to retire, and just how do we keep adapting it as the game grows. And he used to always tell us, one of his coaching courses, one of the instructors gave him a hard time. He's like, you're not inventing anything new in the game. And which is true probably, but at the same time, the game's always changing. And whether we're on a circle or whatever, it's like, I do think there's always that way to like kind of make things a little bit better. I think it's something that I always tell people, from Bruce, from Bobby, from Siggy, from a lot of the modern words, or Dave Mazur. I mean, the amount of variety and quality coaches in college that we were all lucky to grow with. And now you watch the different ways people play in Europe. I'm like, people were playing similarly in the US, right? I mean, I think,
for sure.
Now it's just, maybe they're just starting to see like, oh, some guys can really build teams here. But going back to your question, I think it's the foundation of everything. And then it's just, how do you adapt it? And it is, it's playing as a team. Like used to always say, like, they have to know we'll look like a team, being able to press the ball, effectively to attack, and then being organized defensively, because if you're giving up too many goals, you're never going to really win games.
Brilliant. Coach Riley, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing some of your wisdom and experiences with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, all the best in the upcoming season. And we will connect somewhere down the line again, I hope.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Coach. Much appreciated. All the best.